Sir, may I bring in my other colleague, Faye Almazan, who's one of our business reporters. I believe she has some questions regarding this topic, particularly trade and investment. Faye, can you please ask your question?
Good morning, Ambassador.
Mhm.
Aside from the energy companies, are there other Russian companies that are looking to invest in the country, and which industries are they specifically eyeing? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It's very interesting question because there are many interesting companies in Russia Federation, but the Filipino market is a very big and fast growing market with a population
Hmm.
of more than 100 million people. Um, Filipinos knows less about Russian products in comparison to Japanese, Chinese, and Western
Hmm.
products. It's goes without saying. But with the multilateral policy of your President Duterte, who visited Russia 2 times in 2017 and 2019, the Philippines is getting to know more about Russia. So, answering your question, I would like to say that we can expand our mutual trade. Unfortunately, the pandemic dropped our bilateral trade, and in 2020, the Russian-Filipino trade turnover reached only $931 million. Uh, the previous year, it means in 2019, it was more than $1 billion. As for now, main Russian products to the country are black metals. Uh, it's something like 35% of Russian export. I mentioned also the crude oil and oil products, 34%, and wheat grain, 20%. But Russian export can be expanded by increasing the supply of wheat grain, poultry, and further opening a local market for wheat flour, beef, and pork. And I think that the Russian agriculture commodities have good quality, don't contain genetically modified organisms. And these products are very popular in our neighbor countries, such as former USSR countries, Mongolia, China, because they are well aware of high quality of it. As for another Filipino companies, I think that we have to disclosure our cooperation on other sectors. For example, I've said that Russian companies are interested to exporting coal, crude oil, and also I'd like to add LNG to the Philippines on mutual beneficial long-term basis. As for the Russian regional aircraft, I think that we can also supply Russian regional aircraft and helicopters, and
Hmm.
local firms can be interesting because the Philippines, with its more than 7,000 islands, must have enough fleets of aircraft, helicopters, and vessels, because only using those vehicles you can easily reach distant places of your country, where there is no road, as far as I know. So Russian made trucks, light commercial vehicles of Gas Group and KAMAZ, Ural, may find their owners in the Philippines, and the Filipino bunkers is well known, and it could be used in transportation, implementing infrastructure project and jeepney modernization program.
Hmm. Okay.
So we have a lot of fields of cooperation, and Also, the pandemic demonstrated that the Russian medicine, drugs, and scientists are one of the best of in the world. And we said that we would like to operate in this field also.
Ambassador, that sounds very exciting. You know, you talked about energy, you talked about commercial vehicles, you talked about the helicopters. What can the Philippines do to make it easier for the Russian investors to move forward with these opportunities? What can be done by the Philippines?
With the Philippines, I think to be more flexible, to be
Okay.
more open. And I think that I repeat that we can't go ahead without finding a mutual interest. But mutual interest can be found only in dialogue, in negotiation, and you should be more open and yeah, propose a new field of cooperation. And we have, I'd like to be concrete, we have some business forum that could help to the Filipino people also to take part not only in the Filipino forums, but take part in the cooperation, our bilateral cooperation. I'd like draw your attention to the Russian-Philippine online business forum, which will be held June 1,
Okay.
organized by the Ministry of Economic Development of the Russian Federation.
Okay.
And also your Ministry of Trade and Industry, it's the Department of Trade and Industry of the Republic of the Philippines is aware about this forum, and there will be 3 roundtables regarding our mutual interest and mutual cooperation. One session will be the IT and digital technologies, and there is a lot of Filipino people and Filipino firms that would like to take part. For example, proposed participant from the Filipino side is fintech companies, Point West, Accenture,
Okay.
Softline Philippines. I maybe can give you then the tentative program of
Yes,
this
please.
business forum, because also it will be the session of industry during which it will be also the discussion regarding the cooperation in the field of industry, and the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Russian Federation and the director, Mr. Katan, from Investment Opportunity and Aviation, Automobile, and Electronic sectors will be also discussed. And the other sector of mutual interest will be also mentioned, the agriculture.
Yes.
So the representative of our agri-export will open the session, and Assistant Secretary Mr. Evangelista from Department of Agriculture of the Philippines also will take part. So there are a lot of initiatives that should be implemented, and we would like you to know that the Russian side would like to enhance our cooperation and to stress our ties. Thank you.
How could the Russian embassy be of aid to the economic recovery of the Philippines given the challenges that were brought upon by the pandemic?
I think that more we cooperate, more
Uh-huh.
we implement our mutual project. It will be a real aid to the Philippines and to the Russia
Right.
for go out of this crisis. The role of the Russian embassy is to promote our cooperation.
So besides you mentioned energy, commercial vehicles, helicopters. So are there any particular Russian products that you would like to see more in Manila? I know we're very familiar with vodka, but is there anything else from Russia that you'd like to see more available in our markets?
Well, interesting question. More available in your markets. I know that it's vodka is also given in association with the caviar. Maybe if you can buy from Russia our caviar, it will be a good combination.
What do you miss from Russia? I know the Philippines is a very different country from your home. What do you miss from home, Ambassador?
Well, it's also a very interesting question. What I'm missing? I'm missing a lot of things.
Do you miss the cold
For
weather?
example, I'm missing the snow.
Do you miss
There's no snow in the Philippines.
It's very hot in the Philippines right now.
You know that I'm only for 6 months here, and I'm waiting. Maybe I'm a little bit afraid because I was told that it will be a very not very good season as a rainy season.
Mm.
But I've said that what I'm missing is to be more concrete and more frankly, I'm missing my relatives, of course.
Yes, of course.
Because I have 2 sons and I have also grandchilds.
Are your
But
sons
the means of
working?
communication is so good that can use also Zoom or
Yes,
so we can speak
keep in touch.
further. But in any way, we have. I will ask my minister to permit me to give me the permission to go maybe in August to visit my country, to visit my relatives.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you have family members in Manila? How are they enjoying your posting here? How are you enjoying your posting here so far?
I'm in Manila with my wife, and I think
Okay.
all of us are enjoying the Philippines because for us it's a very interesting experience. You mentioned that I worked many years in Italy.
Yes.
Totally, maybe 25 years I passed in Italy.
You know, some people say that Filipinos and Italians are very similar in personalities. Would you say that that's correct or incorrect?
Very interesting question. Very interesting question. Maybe the Filipino and the Italian are very similar. Maybe. First of all, because I was told by my Italian colleague, Ambassador of the Italian Republic to the Philippines, Mr. Guglielmini, he said that in Italy there are something like 200
Filipino VWs.
thousand Filipinos which are working in Italy. So maybe in the spirit of we don't remind them our religion is a common. It's the Catholic religion is very important thing in the Philippines. I also spoke with the nuncio to the Philippines, Ambassador Brown, and as far as I know that now we are celebrating 500 years of Christianity in the Philippines. Yes.
Yes.
So maybe because of that, you can say that the Filipino people are very similar to the Italian one.
Ambassador, I think Red has some more serious questions about the vaccine. Can we call Red back, please, Red?
Have you met with our health secretary Francisco Duque III? And if you have met with our health secretary, what are the things that have you discussed during your discussions with our health secretary? I know vaccines is one agenda, but I heard that you said that Russia is also considering the distribution of Favipiravir or Avigan in the country. So, um, can you enlighten us on your discussion, or if there is any discussion with our health secretary?
No, but you know very well, because we don't want not to to hide that our contacts with the Filipino leadership is very frequent, and I think they're very important. I spoke with Secretary Duque maybe 2 times directly. One when I arrived, and it was the conversation online, unfortunately, online conversation when I spoke with him. It was in January, and we mentioned all the question. Well, first of all, regarding the cooperation in the field of combating COVID-19. But it also mentions that there is a lot of fields of cooperation, including the field of producing also the vaccine. And another field of cooperation is the distributing our drugs and our medicine. But I know that the Filipino side is very attentive, very attentive, and Filipino side is examining maybe bureaucratically, I can say, but also because there is a question of the health of the Filipino peoples. All the question regarding the medicine and drugs. So our cooperation could be unreached of the cooperation in the field of distributing our medicine. But we should be more flexible, more prompt to fast our negotiations. And to examine our proposal in more prompt manner.
Ambassador, I'm just curious about how the work you're doing to develop better relations between the Philippines and Russia. What are some of the things that surprised you about Filipinos when you came here, and maybe how would you like Filipinos to think about Russia? What are some of the maybe misimpressions that you would like to correct? Because we've had, as you said, a longer relationship with the West, and our relationship with Russia is fairly new.
Well, first of all, about the surprise when I arrived. I arrived in not very good period.
Yes.
In November, and one of the first words I learned in Tagalog when I just arrived was the words Bayanihan. Bayanihan spirit. I was surprised.
Bayanihan, okay.
But it is not just a word, but it's whole philosophical conception of life, which put in practice by Filipino people. I've said that I arrived last November during the period of devastating back-to-back typhoons.
Yes.
And I had a chance to witness how people were united their efforts to overcome the consequences of natural disaster. So I'm shaken with your Bayanihan spirit, maybe because I found it similar to our Russian tradition of patriotism.
Okay.
That is one of the things that I surprised. Another thing that you said it, about the misconception. Yes.
Yes. How would you like Filipinos to think about Russia or Russians?
Well, as for the misconception, I think that it's wrong because I have my conception, you have your own conception, and this is a lot of stereotypes in our mind, unfortunately. You mentioned that one of the similar words when you are speaking about Russians is vodka.
Okay.
So, in other words, that Russian never smile and drink a lot of vodka, so they're very gloomy. I don't think so. That we should, in any way, change our stereotypes. Maybe because now the Russian change the same manner of life, and there is a lot of devotees of healthy life in Russia. And Russia are very open and warm, and there is no bears walking along the streets of Moscow, or maybe in other Russian cities. For example, Russia is a vast country with 7 climate zones.
Wow.
So the weather can get pretty extreme. Maybe in the south it could be reached 45, like in the Philippines, 45 degrees in summer, and in winter in Oymekon it could be reached minus 64.
Wow.
So of course the most of countries, but in any way the most of my country is in the temperate zone, and for example the Black Sea coast in the subtropics. But I'd like you to know that the Russians are very peaceful people. And so, because we recently celebrated the 76th anniversary of our victory against Nazi fascism, I'd like you to know that, to remind that the Soviets, because we were previously Soviets before Russians.
Right.
So we have this kind of patriotism because we lost about 27 million people in that war.
Yes.
Such nation will never wish to experience war again. But at the same time, it will never let itself and its people to push around. So we were able to give a positive buff to the enemy and defend the ideas of freedom, humanity, equal and mutually beneficial dialogue. So I think that it will be interesting to have more initiatives, cultural, economic, so-called people-to-people connectivity,
right,
to understand each other. I don't know whether I answered your question.
Well, you have, Ambassador. You know, I forgot to mention that one other thing from Russia that's very well known here is your literature. Your writers are have a big following in the Philippines, including I think our foreign secretary is a big fan of some of the Russian literature. But Ambassador, is there anything else you would like to add? Maybe something that we haven't asked, maybe a message to our Filipino audience?
You are asking me about some message to the Filipino audience.
Yes, sir. About maybe as a final question. Yeah, that's my
Final question.
Yeah.
My final question, my final desire, and I think that's the whole desire of all the ambassadors living in the Philippines, maybe in Europe, everywhere, is to restore, to promote our cooperation in very different fields. Well, maybe people-to-people connectivity is most practical and more attractive.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the cultural field promoting by our honorable consul in the Philippines, Mrs. Garcia. She's living in Cebu.
Mm-hmm.
And is head chairperson of so-called chairperson of the Philippine Russian Business Assembly, for example.
Okay.
And because in Cebu we have a honorable consul, this Army Lopez Garcia, and this year, the year of, I mentioned it, 45th anniversary of our celebration. It is a secret till now, but I will share with secret. This year, production companies of our both countries pursue filming, showing the film To Russia with Love. Very interesting.
Okay, For Russia with Love. Okay.
It's a love story. It's a love story between a Filipino boy and Russian girl who fall in love and decided to get married.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
And it will also showcases beautiful sides of Russia and similarities of the culture. Very interesting idea, and I'd like you that maybe through your newspapers, your channel, it will be a very good gift to our people in the occasion of our bilateral anniversary. And I deeply believe that we need such initiatives. We need more contacts. Unfortunately, also this contact is going online, but I think that maybe we can organize the same protocol events after the end of the pandemic. And
Sure.
I can invite you and your colleagues to participate in my protocol event in the embassy, in my residence. So through our concepts, through our cooperation, we should create the atmosphere of friendship and peace. That is my main goal. And I think that it is a goal is the same of the Filipino authority, of the Filipino leadership.
Thank you very much for that, Ambassador, and I wish you best of luck with your mission. I also hope that the situation here will improve so that you can enjoy our country. I know it's very difficult to enjoy your posting in Manila because of the pandemic, but maybe if more people are vaccinated, you could visit more of the beautiful places around the Philippines, so that you can have better memories than what you have now of Manila.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your time,
much.
Ambassador.
Thank you so much, President. Thank you.